Well, Gimmick University is back at it again this week as they are set to host South Carolina in a big revenge game. That's right, South Carolina absolutely embarrassed and humiliated Tennessee last year at Willie B in Columbia. Put up 63 points on them. Ended any chance they had of making the playoffs. They probably would have got left out anyway. Ohio State probably would have ended up ahead of them. We'll never know for sure. But anyway, so big revenge game. And per usual, South Carolina or Tennessee's back at it with the stupid ass gimmicks again this week. They're a gimmick program kind of to begin with. They bring Josh Heupel in, gimmick offense, literally 11 plays. That's not my opinion. I'm not making that up. That's straight from Jalen Hyatt's mouth last year. They're everything wide receiver. He straight up said in an interview, he's got a wristband with 11 plays on it. It's pretty obvious when you watch him too. So just everything about him is a gimmick. And so over the last couple of years now, they've decided to just go all in on sort of the Gimmick U persona that they have. They're basically trying to become the Oregon of the SEC with the uniform deals. This will be Tennessee's fifth game. Is that right? And fifth different uniform? What are y'all doing? Dark mode activated against South Carolina this weekend in Knoxville at Neyland. Why not checker Neyland too and just go ahead and scratch all the, scratch every gimmick box here while we're still in the first month of the season. First game of the year, they played Virginia. Here's the uniforms they wore. Second week of the year, Austin P. Yeah, Austin P. Here's the uniforms they wore against Austin P. Some kind of smoky gray throwback, something or another they called it. Week 3 on the road at Florida. Third different uniform. Here you go. Now, look, I know that's a road game, and so you have your road and your home uniforms. We get it. That's what you're supposed to have, 2 uniforms. Maybe a third is like an alternate that you do once a year or once every couple of years. But so anyway, Game 1, Virginia, you saw that uniform. Game 2, Austin P, smoky gray throwback, I showed you that. Game 3 on the road at Florida. Third game, third different uniform. Game 4, back home last week against UTSA. Yet another uniform combination. Here you go, take a look. And now, Game 5, still in the first month of the season, their fifth different uniform. 5 for 5 in different uniforms here. A giant gimmick. I don't understand. Well, there's a lot of things about Tennessee I don't understand. But look, I was ready to pencil this in as a Tennessee win. And they can still win this game. I'm going to give you my prediction in a second. I was so wrong about Tennessee. It's not that I wasn't wrong about Florida. Okay? Y'all hounded me because I picked Tennessee to beat Florida and they lost. First of all, I've been over this. I care less about picking a game wrong. I didn't get that game wrong because I was wrong about Florida. I was right about Florida's not any good. I was wrong about Tennessee. I thought Tennessee would be good for 2 years in a row. Now, that's clearly a me problem. A mental issue deal, I guess. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. And you know who is really talking me into not believing and not buying into Tennessee? Tennessee fans. Tennessee fans have jumped off the ledge already this year. Bench Joe Milton, play Nico, season's over, we're terrible, we only beat this team by that amount, we only beat that team by this amount, Joe Milton only did this many yards, he overthrew this guy, underthrew that guy. It's a never-ending pity parade from Tennessee fans, other than week 1, really. Tennessee fans have not been happy with a game Tennessee has played since week 1. Forget my opinions of Tennessee or what they've done. Tennessee fans themselves have not been happy with Tennessee since a week 1 beating of Virginia. They're just downing everything. So I might as well jump on the train too and down Tennessee. Now this particular matchup here, Tennessee versus South Carolina, like I said, when I did my preseason prediction videos going game by game for South Carolina and Tennessee, I penciled this in as a big Tennessee win. Home game, revenge factor. Me thinking Tennessee was just going to be that much better of a team than South Carolina. And they may still be a better team than South Carolina. We'll find out Saturday night in Neyland. Dark mode activated. Hey, are y'all going to do the fight song Gimmick 2 again? You know, they did a remix of Rocky Top or something. They call it the spooky version. Ooh, listen, no one is scared to hear Rocky Top. It doesn't matter the version, any version. No, there's not a version of Rocky Top on planet Earth that scares anybody. Spooky, spooky. You know what's spooky? 15 years of ineptitude. That's pretty damn spooky there, Tennessee, man. Okay, this game in particular. Let's start with South Carolina. Spencer Rattler is going to be the best quarterback in this game. Fact. Like I said, I gave Tennessee the benefit of the doubt. It's going to be a system offense. It's going to be an Ohio State situation. Plug and play at QB. I don't think Milton's going to be as good as Hooker, but I think the numbers will be similar because Josh Heupel gimmick offense. I was wrong. Spencer Rattler's the best quarterback in this game. He is playing on another level right now. The second half against Georgia was bad. That is true. But even if you go back to their week 1 loss against North Carolina, you can't put that on Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler couldn't have played any better in that week 1 loss to North Carolina. That loss was on the offensive line and the defense's inability to slow North Carolina down, honestly. Spencer Rattler played good in the North Carolina game. Played good against a nobody. Then there was the Georgia game. In the first half, he was lights out. Lights out against Georgia in the first half. He scored just as many touchdowns in the first half against Georgia, too, as Josh Heupel has ever scored in an entire game against Georgia. Let's just start there. Now, the second half went bad for him. Like I said, I think he had 20 yards passing or something in the second half. We all know how that went. And then last week, they host Mississippi State. Mississippi State comes in. Rattler was 18 for 18 in the first half. He finished the game, I believe, with only 1 incompletion in a win against Mississippi State. Rattler's playing on another level right now. Rattler is playing like the quarterback people thought he would be coming out of high school. The 5-star QB that he was coming out of high school. Now, South Carolina doesn't have a ton of talent around him. That's just an absolute fact. They do have a pretty good wide receiver in Leggett. Their running game doesn't even exist. Their offensive line is pretty bad, and their running game is terrible. That's not going to change, just because they're playing on the road at Tennessee. Now, Tennessee's defense, this is probably the worst defense they've played so far this season, this Tennessee defense. But it's not like I think South Carolina is suddenly going to figure something out in the run game. If South Carolina wants to win on the road in Knoxville at Tennessee, it's going to be because Spencer Rattler has yet another amazing game. Defensively for South Carolina, they're going to have to play well. As much as the Tennessee fans hate their own quarterback, they hate Joe Milton, as mad as Tennessee fans are at their own team, as bad as Tennessee fans think that Tennessee is, I think South Carolina's defense is going to struggle to keep pace with the tempo of the Tennessee offense. I think that's true. Crowd will be a factor like it always is in Neyland Stadium. Tennessee, defense, not where it needs to be. They should have fired Tim Banks and Willie Martinez probably after last season, their defensive coordinator and their defensive backs coach. They didn't. They kept both of them. Instead, they got a new offensive coordinator. Now, they didn't fire the offensive coordinator. He left for a head coaching job somewhere. I don't know if that's got anything to do with the offensive issues Tennessee seems to be having early in the year relative to how good their offense played last year. Obviously, not having Hendon Hooker, Cedric Tillman, and Jalen Hyatt is the biggest part of the problem. But I didn't really think it mattered who the offensive coordinator would be at Tennessee because you just figured it's a Josh Heupel offense, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's got more to do with it than I thought. But defensively, they have not improved enough from last year to this year. Here's what's got to be the frustrating part, I think, if you're a Tennessee fan. Even if the offense was performing this year at the level you thought that it would, you still would not be good enough as a team to get where you thought you were going, which is winning the SEC East, winning maybe the SEC, maybe making the playoffs, because the defense has not improved to the point where it needed to improve. Even if Tennessee's offense was as good as it was last year, which it's not, Tennessee would still lose a couple of games this year. They would still lose to your Georgias, probably your Alabamas. Look, Tennessee's going to have a hard time scoring on Bama. Bama's a mess offensively. There's no question about it, but their defense is playing lights out. So even if your offense was playing at an extremely high level, which it's not, you still wouldn't have won the East. The even worse news is your defense is not playing at that level and your offense has regressed. You're looking at most likely a worse overall season this year in terms of a record than you had last year when you were 10-2. You look like a 9-3, 8-4 team right now. And if things go totally sideways, 7-5, I don't think is out of the question. Now, the difference between going 7-5 and 9-3, in my opinion, games like South Carolina, Kentucky, Mizzou, do you win those or do you lose those? Because you've already lost to Florida. You're going to lose to Alabama on the road. You're going to lose at home to Georgia in November. 9-3 is your ceiling. You start losing these games to your South Carolinas, your Kentuckys, your Mizzous. You host Texas A&M. 7-5 becomes a real possibility real quick. You're favored by 12, or it was 12 earlier in the week. I'm recording this Tuesday around lunchtime. I just looked it up. It's up to about 12.5. So some people are betting on Tennessee. And look, I was ready to pick Tennessee to win this game too. Like I said, and you can go back and watch my preseason prediction videos for both Tennessee and South Carolina. I penciled this in for a win for Tennessee without even thinking about it. Revenge game at home, Williams-Brice Stadium. It was a no-brainer for me in the offseason. Unfortunately, now I've seen a month's worth of football, and I've seen that Tennessee's just not where they need to be, not where they thought they would be, not where the fans wanted them to be. And it's the Tennessee fans who have changed Uncle Lou's mind in this game. So, to any Tennessee fan that wants to show up in this comment section and cry about, oh, you guys just hate Tennessee. Yeah, you figured it out. And I love South Carolina. Wow, South Carolina is my most hated team. I've made no secret about that on this channel for the last 8 years. If Georgia was going to go 1-11, I would want that one win to be against South Carolina. More than Florida, more than Auburn, more than Georgia Tech, certainly more than Tennessee. The Tennessee game doesn't even matter to me. We beat them so much it's become irrelevant. But anyway, it's the Tennessee fans' fault that I have changed my mind and I'm going with South Carolina. And I'm going to take the 12 points now. I do think South Carolina can win this game outright. The Spencer Rattler's going to have to play out of his mind, and South Carolina's defense is going to have probably their best game of the season. But I do think there's a chance South Carolina wins this game outright. For betting purposes, give me South Carolina in the 12.5 points, though. South Carolina, coming out of that game against North Carolina, I think they were pretty low. They were dejected. That was a bad game. Spencer Rattler was sacked 25 times or whatever it was. They had like negative something yards rushing. It was just horrendous. They got it going a little bit in week 2 against a nobody. And then they came into that Georgia game, and even though they lost to Georgia, I feel like South Carolina came out of that Georgia game a more confident team than they were when the game started, even though they lost. And I know everybody hates to hear the term moral victory applied to their team, but because of the way South Carolina played against Georgia in the first half, they're at Sanford Stadium on the road. I mean, because of the way they sort of hung in there, really, even in the second half, only losing by 10, I feel like South Carolina came out of that Georgia game, even though they lost, feeling more confident as a team than they were prior to that game. And I think they carry that confidence into Neyland Stadium this week. So that, Carolina's confidence, the elite level that Spencer Rattler is playing at right now, combined with what I've seen from Tennessee this year, plus what the Tennessee fans keep telling me, which is that Tennessee is terrible, we're not any good, bench Joe Milton, he sucks, put Nico, I'm about to leave you in, I'm tired of Joe Milton, what is Josh Heupel doing, our defense is terrible, why'd we keep Tim Banks, we should have fired Willie Martinez. Like I said, it's just, we're still in the first month of the season, and it's just a laundry list of complaints already from Tennessee fans. Fine, okay, I believe you. I'm going to take South Carolina in this game. Have a great day.